this is not right. I know I'm not nuts. There's something going on here. I could outdo most people in running, and I could just, my friends would go, but you've just done a full day's work and you've been here and you've been there, and then I'd still keep going. So I knew there was something going on that wasn't feeling right or fitting right, and I wasn't getting the answers that I needed.
Welcome to Let's Talk Thyroid, where we explore different aspects of living a healthy thyroid lifestyle, positively and practically, to help you thrive and not just survive. Join me, Annabelle Bateman, your host, and Let's Talk Thyroid. This podcast has been proudly supported by, well, me. I am fully backing my podcast and getting the Let's Talk Thyroid message out to you. If you are interested in purchasing essential oils, that is one of the ways that you can support me and I can support you, and essential oils can support your overall thyroid health and wellness. So if that's something that you would like to add to your health and wellness toolkit of resources that you can access to support you in a number of different ways, send me a message. I'd love to help you find what suits your individual needs and budget. Or you can head to annabellebateman.com and follow the links there to essential oils. But think digestive support, stress management, reducing your toxic load, all sorts of ways that we can use essential oils as part of our overall lifestyle approach to managing health and wellness. Michelle was referred to the Let's Talk Thyroid community about 12 months ago when she was feeling a bit alone in her health journey. And while she'd been on thyroid medications for about 20 years, she hadn't at that point yet been diagnosed with Hashimoto's. So it's really lovely to have a conversation with someone who has benefited from the information in the community and with the podcast. And you're going to love the way that she takes personal responsibility for her health, the tips that she has, particularly around stress and visualization and mindset. I really enjoyed that part of the conversation I had with Michelle. One of the things I love that she says is, acknowledge that you have a health issue, but don't let it define you. So enjoy this conversation I have with Michelle sharing her thyroid story. Welcome, Michelle, to the Let's Talk Thyroid podcast. I'm so excited that you're here today to share your thyroid story, and so we can learn from you and your experiences, because that's a lot of what I guess I'm wanting this podcast to be, is that we all learn from each other. So thank you for being willing to, dig into your health and to share your experiences with us.
Thank you for having me on here. I'm quite excited about sharing the journey and hoping I can help others just by sharing my story.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that there will be at least one person that needs to hear your story. And I've said that in other podcast interviews, and I've had a few other brave souls be willing to share their story. And then, we get messages. I get messages and say, I needed to hear this. It might just be one phrase, one line, but I have no doubt that someone listening needs to hear what you have to say.
Fantastic. Look forward to it.
Yeah. So let's start off, Michelle. Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so I am 48 years young. I grew up in Perth, WA. I've always had an interest in an active lifestyle, nutrition, exercise. I think as a youngster, we all, with my generation, you go down that path of thinking you've got to have the mainstream job. And so for the last 20, 25 years, I was working in an office, and then I've since delved into what I love. I was a personal trainer. I was a bar attack instructor, which is ballet and Pilates on a ballet bar. And finally coming to the realisation that nutrition is my passion since I've been diagnosed, and I've had an amazing childhood. I can't say, I've got an amazing family. I just love my life, and I couldn't say a bad thing about it really, because it's all brought me to where I'm at today. So, but one thing I have realised is I need to follow my path of nutrition and helping women. So that's pretty much in a nutshell up to me. That's a nutshell of me: nutrition, connection, just really loving being around women, being around people, and just really fitness and nutrition. That's my vibe.
Yeah, well, that's probably why we've kind of connected online too, because that's sort of me too. And it's amazing how our health does, our own personal health story impacts so much of our lives, really, and takes you down those paths. I mean, if it wasn't for me having Hashimoto's, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't probably know anything about thyroid, or I probably wouldn't be eating as, just generally as healthy as I am, I think. So you've got to take the look on the bright side.
Definitely.
Yeah. So tell us your thyroid story. Like, I know that's a broad question, but when did you first notice you had symptoms? How did it come out? Is it something that's in your family? Tell us a bit about that. So
as long as I can remember, thyroid, my mum has always had thyroid problems, or problems in the fact that she went from being underactive to overactive, and then it completely stopping altogether. So she's on medication for the rest of her life, to the point now that my dad has thyroid stuff, my sister and my brother. So there's all whole generation. Yeah, yep. So there is definitely a hereditary component there. Though also, after listening to some of your podcasts, I realised I had glandular fever when I was 21, and the significance of it was this particular guy I was dating at the time, so I remember. And
well, it is the kissing disease.
So I was like, I can remember now why and when. So, 20. So when I was 20 and I dated him, I got glandular fever, and then I just noticed my body not being the same. I went and lived in London for a year after leaving him, and I found out I had glandular fever just before I left, and my body just started like I'd never had problems. I was always so fit and healthy, and I just started having problems with them, up and down emotions, certain foods I couldn't eat. A lot of people said back then, a lot of people were calling me sort of nuts because I have always been really in tune with my body, and if I ate something and it didn't agree, I knew straight away. I've always had that intuitive part there. So then coming to about 25 to 30, I started to work in a high pressure mining role, and the perfection side of things, which I know are a personality type A, since I found out, I just kept trying to strive. And, my health, because it's my top value, if my health wasn't at its best, I would, when I recognise it now, I would try and compensate in another area by working harder, so I didn't have to look at that area, because I thought I was trying everything, to the point of 35, 40. I was in a long-term relationship, and I was going to the doctors every sort of 6 to 12 months to get my hormone levels checked, and because I kept getting told by this partner that I was irrational, that I was, what's going on, my moods were up and down, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And the doctors at the time that I did see, they weren't really listening to holistically to what I was saying. They were just doing the bare minimum of tests, and I was trying to say to them, it's not correct. There's something else going on. This is not, it's telling me I'm fine. I'm not fine. There's something going on in my body, to the point of, I think intuitively, I've been on thyroxine since then, 21, 22, up to now. And one stage I had that probably sixth high-flying mining job, and I crashed and burned, and I just thought, what am I doing? for someone that loves her fitness and loves her, about telling other people to look after the body, I'm completely doing the opposite. So I quit my high-profile job and I ended up handing my house into the bank that I had in Perth because I wasn't doing well with that, and I cut all my ties from work and moved down to the southwest to house sit for a year in Busselton. So that has brought me down here, and it made me realise that I really need to look after my health, and if I can't be an example of what to do, then how can I expect to then go into my chosen field that I've always wanted to do? Cutting to the chase, when I'd been down here, the idea when the house it was coming to an end was, money, money's you need money to live. And because I knew I was great at admin, let's go back into that. And once again, crash and burn. So I crashed and burned about 3 months ago. My contract had finished, or someone else got it, so I saw it as a blessing, not at the time, but I do now, and got diagnosed with Hashimoto's, and am now seeing an amazing holistic doctor and a naturopath.
Wow. So your thyroid story has spanned since about that time when you got the glandular fever. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
But it's only recently you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's.
Correct.
So you've been on thyroid medication for all of that time.
Yes.
But no doctor had ever said that you had Hashimoto's.
None.
Wow. I mean, I know not everybody that has thyroid issues or is on thyroid medication has Hashimoto's. Not everyone has that autoimmune component. But, wow, I find that fascinating that for 25 years or so, no one tested the thyroid antibody levels?
None. Nothing.
You just get the TSH tested every now and again to check.
Yeah. No, nothing. And I think what really brought me to awareness was when I was in the long-term relationship, I started studying Pilates, I started studying nutrition and naturopathy back then, and obviously circumstances, I didn't finish them, whereas I'm not being stopped now. I got to become aware of this is not right. I know I'm not nuts. There's something going on here. I could outdo most people in running, and I could just, my friends would go, but you've just done a full day's work and you've been here and you've been there, and then I'd still keep going. So I knew there was something going on that wasn't feeling right or fitting right, and I wasn't getting the answers that I needed for my body. And that's intuitively, obviously, being drawn down to the southwest where it is a lot more holistic and a lot more awareness. My mindset my journey led me down here.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And I mean, the more people I talk to, just seems everyone's story is different, but there are similar themes, and that sort of certainly the push. Let's just keep going. Certainly seems to be a pretty common thread. But so does I know there's something not right. That intuitive gut feeling that something's not right, but having difficulty either getting people to accept that that's true, and then the help that you need is just so common, and partly why I love this platform. And I hope if you're listening and you're thinking this is you, and you're not aware that you have a thyroid issue. See, what I find fascinating is, Michelle, you already knew, but the doctors, they still weren't helping or not understanding maybe. But the number of people that, just you might be feeling that emotional ups and downs, and you're going to the doctor and you're being told you've got, depression or, other sorts of things, but what's sitting behind that? So if there was somebody listening who's in that situation, got that gut feeling that something's not right, but they're not getting the help that they think they need, what would you say to them?
First of all, trust your instincts, because we know our body's the best, and not being sexist, but especially women, we're very aware of what feeling and emotions. And my thing is, don't stop until you find someone that listens. if you don't know somebody, you know, put out a post amongst friends or even on a site like this, just connecting with similar people in another similar area and find those people that listen. There is people out there that will listen, and just keep going until you find out, you know, you find that person that listens for your journey. I'm not saying that those doctors were bad. It's where they're at that time, but go and keep researching, keep making that change. Talk to friends, you know, because you might have friends that have a friend that went through the same journey but you're not aware of, and just share with people. Don't be afraid to share about your journey, because I always thought I have to be strong, I have to be, you know, do it all myself, and you don't.
Yeah, that's great advice, isn't it? Yeah. And the more that we talk, and this is why I love this whole thing, is that the more that we talk and we share our experiences, I know that it's helping other people.
Yeah.
Because the number of people that get referred to our Facebook community by friends, or the number of people that, you know, I ask when people join the Let's Talk Thyroid Facebook group, you know, what do you have a problem with your thyroid? And a lot of people say they suspect that they do. You know, it's not yet diagnosed, but I ask that question. And so that's, you know, fine. You think you do, you're on that journey. There's a lot of people that don't know, and that's great, because this helps people to go, yeah, I experienced that and that and that and that, and go get the help that you need. Yeah, keep going. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you moved to a quieter place, I assume, than Perth. Yeah.
Yes.
So does that I know if you're listening, you can't see, but Michelle just looked like, like a big weight just got lifted off your shoulders. Does it feel like a less stressful place, or like what is it about that move that you think do you think that has had an impact on your health?
Oh, massive, massive impact. So my best friend lives down in the southwest, and her young daughter, or her daughter Kendall, had always said, she's 25 now, said, Michelle, you belong in the southwest. You know, you're always down here every few weekends. So when I made that decision, everyone was, even my mum's like, yeah, and you said you wanted to be there since you were little. So I was putting out all these signs but not really recognising and listening to myself. Yeah, I have just as much of a social life. I'm just as active, but I'm active in a different way. You know, I'm asking myself better questions. I'm surrounding myself with different quality types of people. It's not to say these, you know, the people that I used to surround myself with are wrong, but I choose now who I let in, because I am very much a big giver and empathetic. So now I choose what to give and what not to give. I'm at the beach all the time. I can go hiking. You know, there's so many outdoor activities. The type of people I surround myself with down here, you know, successful people like yourself and entrepreneurs, and one of my closest friends down here owns this amazing, it's called the Green Depot. It's a massive plant shop, but you name it, it's got everything local. It's not that, it's soaps, and there's a holistic cafe. It's my happy place, and I wouldn't have met them if I hadn't have, you know, everything local. So yeah, it has made a massive difference, and it's helped me to reset and regroup and just go, listen to yourself and be okay with yourself and come back to yourself, because until you help yourself, no matter what other people can tell you or even give you advice on, you have to take that, what fits for you, and on board. And I'm a big believer in that synchronicity, and that the doctor and the naturopath that I found down here were sort of, I was drawn to, because I did the research after a while, and then the naturopath had a client that had this holistic doctor that just happened to be in the country town I'm in, who has done those tests, who has basically said, no, we're not going to stop till we find something. He's got an interest in nutrition. He's got a degree in nutritional medicine. So I believe I've got my support network now in friends and in, you know, the modalities, and then I'm becoming that person with my experiences that can also help other people in this situation.
Yep. It's amazing. It is amazing, because when we're supported, well, we've got our cup is full, you know, and that, well, it should really be overflowing, I suppose. And so but our cup only overflows to the point where we can give when we're Well, with chronic health issues, when we're supported, as you say, by your community, by your friends, family, and having a couple of key professionals, so important as well. So, yeah, so now you'll be free to
one of the biggest things.
Give.
Oh yeah, one of the biggest things I found is acknowledge that you've got it. It doesn't have to be who you are, but acknowledge that you do have something that is serious to do with your health, because I tried to always push it away and go, it's not as important as someone who has, health-threatening illness or, life-threatening illness, but it is just as important. And once we embrace that part of ourselves, it makes the journey a whole lot easier.
So do you think that actually being diagnosed with Hashimoto's as opposed to knowing you had a thyroid problem, did that make a difference in that, what you're talking about there, accepting the...
Yes, because before I'd have all these symptoms and, because I know that I can, I still get told yesterday after I'd had the flu, people just say, how does Michelle get her energy? Like, I'm still like, what it is once I accept that that is something that I have as part of me, then it's like accepting that I have dark hair or, olive skin. I'm using the tools. I'm like if I turn my thing around of all these vitamins and things that I'm on, it allows that space for you to then use that energy on those areas that you love. So by accepting it and letting that go, I'm like, okay, yes, I do have this. I am not my illness, but I do have things that I need to look at and adjust, and that's life for everybody. But it is knowing that it's okay and that you're not weird, you're not different. It's actually been an amazing thing to find out, knowing that I'm not nuts, and finding out how many people in my inner circle have autoimmune, no matter what it is. And I'm just like blown away.
Yeah, that's our national health crisis, really, isn't it?
Isn't it what?
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Absolutely, really, yeah, autoimmune seems to be everywhere, and maybe we're a bit more tuned into it too, because that's our story, but it does seem to be chronic illness is everywhere. Yeah. So what do you think, I mean, we talked about the glandular fever, but what do you think has either triggered your thyroid issues either back then, or are you aware of different triggers now?
Stress, definitely, of trying to be a perfectionist and feeling that, my parents were very successful and still are, but in the, their chosen field, and I seem to be the one child in the middle that just had to get both sides and want to run with it, trying to prove to my parents. I never got asked to prove, but just myself. Very much stress, and a relationship where I ended up getting an illness that put me into early menopause and stopped me from being able to have children. So I believe that contributing factor, because I always wanted kids, and that contributing factor that I no longer had that choice, personally, to be able to do that, that took its toll on my body over, because that happened when I was 40, that sort of took its toll over the next few years, and actually did contribute, I believe, to the stress that was on my body, because I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to see it. I just pushed it all away, and then it internalized in my body, and that's when I had that sort of breakdown in my body.
Yeah, that trauma. So definitely stress. Sounds like the underlying thing is stress. And so what have you learned about you and stress, and how to manage it or reduce it or remove it, or talk to us about that.
So a big thing that I do that you and I have we are very similar on, is I'm very big on Pilates. Pilates is I've been doing it for about 10 years. It's my safe haven. And the great thing about Pilates is, I can still get my intensity of a workout in without damaging my body. Going for walks along the beach has been a massive thing. Doing visualizations every morning. I will put on some music, or I do listen to a guy called Abraham Hicks. I'm not sure. I don't know if any people know about it.
I have heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of the ladies' stuff that she does is really upbeat and like, you know, I love my body, and it just keeps saying, I am contributing, I am well, you know, I will come across roadblocks, but I am handling them. And essential oils, they've been my lifesaver. I've been using them for about 5 years, and the support that with the essential oils, the exercise, also got to keep thinking of things. I'm very big on mindset work, so I'm always working on myself to, you know, at the moment I don't have a coach, but I'll ask myself better questions. All the tools that I have learnt, you know, I'll journal. Journal's massive. And just really having supportive friends and saying no. Saying no has been one of my biggest problems. But learning to say no to, and not feeling guilty about it, you know, just thinking, okay, I'll ask myself, body, does this feel right for me tomorrow? No, I'm not feeling quite up to being in a crowded room or a crowded pub, you know, which is what I usually do, or I just feel like being on the beach and being with a couple of friends that I can just relax and be myself with. So it's about asking those questions and, yeah, surrounding yourself to reduce the stress.
Mm. It sounds like you've done a lot of work actually on that.
Oh.
And I know it's constant. It's so funny because you may not have listened to it yet, but yesterday's podcast was all about saying no.
No, I haven't.
No, so that's all right. But the irony is that the last couple of days, it's not that, to be honest, it's school holidays here at the moment, and we're not away, we're at home, but the kids are in and out and doing things, and we've got bathroom renovations, and there's a few sort of extra things. Well, they haven't started yet, but a few extra things sort of that aren't normally in my day-to-day. And so I'm recording this episode about saying no and how it's really great to have some space in your calendar. And I'm just like getting stressed because I don't have that space. And I'm like, what should I have said no to? Like, this message is as much for me as it is for anybody else. Yeah. So I like that you said that you've got that intuitive ability to, like, is this the best thing, you know, for me right now? Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you got any other tips about learning to say no? Because I do think that's massive, actually.
Yeah. Basically, very much something that I've learned is when somebody asks you to go somewhere or to do something, actually don't answer straight away. Sit with that message, because I'm always like, yes to everything, because I want to please everybody. I'm learning very much about not being a people pleaser. But, yeah, just sit with it for a few moments. Sit with it for half a day. It doesn't matter. And just see if it feels right. And also it's okay to change your mind, and the right people will understand and the wrong people don't matter anyway. So don't feel like you have to be loved and liked by everybody, because that was something I always used to do. Oh, everybody's got to love me. Everybody's got to like me. I've got to be seen out doing everything. And if I say no, oh, my gosh, someone's not going to like me, it doesn't matter, because you've got to like yourself and you've got to come home to yourself. So just sit with the question at the time, and then know it's okay to say no, and know it's okay to change your mind.
I love it. That was one of my first tips. You could have recorded the episode. It's so funny. You go back and listen. And because that advice was given to me probably 20s, like in my early 20s. And so, yeah, that was, you know, if someone asks you to do something, you don't have to answer straight away. In fact, don't answer straight away. Even if you want to say yes, think about it. And if the other person can't wait, then the answer is no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hilarious. See, synchronicity, we're right on. So clearly whoever's listening to these episodes one after the other, maybe this message is for you. So you said before, so we were talking specifically about stress and managing that. Are there other aspects of your thyroid health or other ways that you manage your thyroid health holistically, I suppose?
Yes, I I picture myself every day, or most days I should say, as a healthy, like I see myself, I'll put some music on and see myself as healthy. So I see myself when my body is at its optimum, I used to say striving, but what I'm working towards to, give myself my body the best options. Visualization is massive, because we are all energy, and it does bring about changes. We think it doesn't, but it's been scientifically proven. When I found out I had Hashimoto's, I pictured myself finding the doctor, finding the naturopath. I had no idea who they were. I didn't even know they existed. And the lady I stumbled across was doing it for 30 odd years. And the doctor is like I think he's a god. He's just amazing. He's just got the amazing background, and he's got a Japanese Australian background, so it's incredible. And he listens. He really listens. And the other thing massively is your food. I've always been very great with my food, but I've gone off coffee. I've gone gluten-free. I've gone sugar-free. Of course, we're not always perfect. I'm totally not. But I've chosen the biggest thing, choose better options. I go to the farmer's market every fortnight, and whatever I get with those foods is what I eat. I'll make up snacks. I'll make up other things. If I don't feel like it sometimes, I don't beat myself up. I might go and buy a raw treat that cost me $7, but you know what? I've earned that because I know what I'm putting in my body, and I know what I'm able to have. It's just put better things into your body, because if you think that, if you think that your body's going to function better if you're not helping it to make those better changes by, even if it's even if it's journaling, even if it's thinking differently, that takes time, but you can change it, instead of saying I can't, I will, and it takes time, just be gentle on yourself and research as well. Don't just go Dr. Google, actually check into people that have done it. The biggest thing is mine is people that have done it, people that you've seen that are doing it, get some advice from them and take bits that work for you. And don't be afraid also, like my naturopath's amazing, but I knew that for one of the things I was on, it was too much. So I adjusted it, and I spoke to my doctor about it. He goes, yeah, that's correct. So be aware that even if they prescribe something, still be aware of how your body's feeling. Listen.
It's taking that personal responsibility, isn't it? And not abdicating our responsibility, even onto our fabulous health professionals that are supporting us, because we're the ones that ultimately have to live it out. But, taking it on, I suppose, as this is my life, my body, my responsibility. And, as you say, I'll get that help, I'll do the research, but being prepared to not just then mindlessly accept everything. Yeah, it's good. It's good. So tell me, I know we have a mutual love of essential oils, and you mentioned they were helpful in terms of your stress. Tell us, have you got a favourite? Have you got a routine? Like how and when do you use essential oils?
So at the moment I've got my diffuser going. So I am very adjustable on it. So I don't have I have a night routine, but in the morning it'll be dependent on how I'm feeling. So I'll get out of bed and I'll have a shower, and then I'll just cup, say, lemon or balance in my hands. Balance, for people that don't know, I know you do, is just a blend that makes me feel really grounded and takes the edge off the anxiety or the unknowingness of the day of what's happening. And I will put my diffuser on with, what have I got going at the moment? I love ginger at the moment for some reason. Ginger and lemon, or just purely lemongrass, because I like oils that help me feel upbeat, that support my mood, that I can use around the home, because I just wipe my kitchen benches with that. Just that, anything that uplifts your spirit and just makes you feel like, you want to dance, basically. And I know I'm a bit of a nut like that. I love to sing and dance around the house. And during the day, I always carry, at the moment I'm currently just working part-time and studying, so I actually will always have my balance on me and Whisper. Whisper is my go-to perfume, deodorant, you name it. Whisper, I find, just makes me feel feminine, makes me feel, empowered and lovely and just sexy without sounding, just being okay with where I'm at. But they're the three main ones, but there is a lot more that I do have. But if I went into all of those, I'd probably take up another 2 hours.
That's all right. It's nice to know what people's favourites are. And I love the way that you've described how they make you feel, because that, I mean, probably like you, I've probably been using essential oils for a similar length of time, and I have a fairly large collection and but I still come back to some core oils, but it's probably been in that mood management that's how I have used them, how I feel like I've benefited the most over that longer period of time from from that feeling, definitely for stress, like the oils that make me feel calm, help me breathe a little easier or feel uplifted. So that, but I love the way that you worded some of that, the way they make us feel, and that's unique to all of us, and I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, and I at night time, before I go to bed, a big one I did forget about is frankincense. Frankincense is like my idol, because that can make me feel calm. It can also help me feel upbeat, but it can also support me emotionally. It can help me, that and balance on my feet at night with moisturiser. I just put it all over my body and feet. Before I do my, visualisation, it makes such a difference. And get your white noise out of your bedroom.
What do you mean by that?
White noise basically is just anything electronic. So,
okay, sorry, I understand.
Yeah.
No phones in your bedroom, no electronics in your bedroom.
Yeah.
At night.
Yeah.
Well, that's it's good sleep hygiene, isn't it?
Isn't it? Sometimes we forget, but.
Well, look, in the end, I mean, that's why I think I like to talk about this being a lifestyle, because it's not about perfection. I think those of us like you and I, and probably a vast number of people listening, we are pretty driven. I don't think of myself as a perfectionist, but I'm definitely a high achiever, and maybe I'm a perfectionist, but I genuinely don't think so. But I know I'm a high-pressured person. I put a lot of pressure on myself.
Yeah.
And so I think I've spent a lot of time searching for health perfection, really, like not knowing that that's not possible, but really thinking it should be and that I'm working towards that. And so it's taken a lot really of work over the last few years to really see it has to be long-term, it has to be sustainable. There can be periods where you rein things in, tighten things up, and other times where, you're not perfect all the time, because that in itself puts a huge amount of stress. Yeah,
what you said there about, not being perfection, that's such a big thing for me. I've had to learn that people that that I've been want to work with or that are listening to this, you don't want them to feel like, oh my gosh, if I don't carry out those tasks or those things, all the routines all the time, that, oh my gosh, it makes me a bad person or I'm not going to get better. It's not that. It's being able to say, okay, today I don't feel like doing that. Or if there's things that you didn't do, don't beat yourself up about it. Just do what feels right at the time.
Because this is a lifelong thing. So we have our whole lives to work this out. It doesn't all have to be done by the end of the month. I think that's...
Whoops, really?
That'd be nice. I still think there's certainly still a part in the back of my mind that says, oh, come on, surely there's a magic pill. Surely there's a magic... But I know there's not, and that's okay. But I think it's normal to want that too.
It's a journey. It's not a quick fix. It takes time. It takes a lifetime, and be okay that it can take a lifetime, whereas I used to think I have to have it done. But funny when you said about the end of the month, that was exactly my thing. I have to be at this stage by the end of the month. I have to see results. Time.
So, Michelle, is there anything that you've tried that really hasn't worked for you?
Actually, what hasn't worked for me is people just telling me to rest. it's not within my personality. It's not within my mindset to actually rest. And when I say not to rest, I like to still be able to exercise and I still like to be able to achieve, but it's about adjusting those to be able to still be doing what you love to do. So, for example, today, because I've had a bit of a cold, I don't feel like my body doesn't feel like doing, high strenuous Pilates, but I'll go and take myself for a walk along the beach. So then I'm still getting that exercise and my mind says, oh, I'm exercising, I'm moving. And the other thing that hasn't worked for me is 50 people having their opinions and sort of what I did was probably looked to too many, like you say, looked to too many people for those answers to what I have going on and, and voicing to a lot of people instead of sort of just going to those 2 or 3 people that know their stuff and then sort of building from there, because I found what it did create was a lot more stress in saying, if I don't follow that person's advice, am I going to be wrong? Or if, oh my gosh, if I don't, I need to go on that stuff. So, yeah, that's been the big thing for me is not at the beginning of the journey, not feeling like you have to tell everybody because it didn't work for me, but also not feeling like I had to take on everything as well and other people's emotions and other people's guilt.
Yeah, it can get overwhelming. I was talking to somebody the other day and about exactly this, that there's a balance, I suppose, between doing all the research and trying different things, because we do all different and things will work differently for each of us, and at the same time not getting overwhelmed by there's this and program and that person's perspective. And there's no easy answer to it, but I take what you're saying because it can get overwhelming.
Very much. And I've loved the fact of, finding your podcast and finding your group. I've found that there's no judgment. You're very much about, listen to this, take from it what you can, take from what works for you, but every journey is different. So going into that, I already don't feel that stress of, oh, shivers, I don't, if I don't do all of these changes, then I'm, it's going to be wrong. It's a different way of looking at things, and you're educating and helping women out there to just listen to themselves.
So, Michelle, to wrap up, if you could go back, if you got 2 or 3 tips that you would give yourself or advice that you would give a younger Michelle about your health journey?
Go after the dreams of what you want to do. So in regards to my nutrition that I'm only starting now is don't wait. Just if it doesn't feel right, just keep asking questions, keep going to different people, make changes that are consistent with where you're at. Don't do a complete overhaul. Do one thing at a time and do it well. Don't feel like you have to, get rid of all the gluten in your cupboard to start with, Just do one thing. Cut down your coffee. One of mine is I do almond milk now, and I do half hot water, half almond milk. So still have your treats, but just adjust. And most of all, don't be ashamed of don't be ashamed of who you are. This dis-ease doesn't define us. This is just a part of our journey, and be okay with it, because by taking that pressure off yourself, then that allows for you to get well, make better decisions and make better choices.
That deep work. You can tell that you've done a lot of deep work on yourself, and that takes time and it's not easy. So well done, and thank you so much for sharing your story with me and with everybody that's listening. Really, really have loved having you on the show. Did you know that one of the things that I offer is a free 30-minute strategy session? So if you want the opportunity to sit down with me, talk about your health goals and make a plan, create some action steps, or just talk things through with someone who gets it, then more than happy for you to book in for a strategy session. I'll put the link to that in the show notes. Or send me a message and I'd love to connect with you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Let's Talk Thyroid. I would love it if you would subscribe to the podcast and share it with others that you know with thyroid problems. Let's get the message out there. If you'd like to connect with me further, the best place to do that is via my website, annabellebateman.com. From there, you'll be able to join my Facebook group, book a strategy session with me, download my freebie, and access any show notes for this episode. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
The information presented and discussed in this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease and should not be used as a substitute for proper advice from a qualified professional.